the desperation of wanting the drugs to be out of my life and to straighten my life up, I remember sticking the gun so hard in my temple and crying. I wanted to end it.
Drugs controlled Eddie's life for more than 2 decades, a habit that started when he was only 15.
I was supposed to be at a skating rink. That's where my mom dropped me off at. But as soon as she got out of sight, me and another friend got in the car with another guy, and that's the night I got introduced to marijuana. I thought I was supposed to do it because everybody else was doing it. It grew from there for, I said, 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I got introduced to cocaine. It got me the first time I tried it.
He began dealing to pay for his growing addiction. Soon, Eddie had a new obsession.
I was selling little stuff, $25, $50 stuff, $100 stuff. The more I sold, the more money I could make. So the lust for money consumed me. And I went to the next stage of selling ounces. And that led into pounds.
Money and drugs became the center of his life. His girlfriend, Marcia, saw how it affected Eddie.
We had already been doing drugs. I had started doing cocaine probably a year before I met Eddie. I kind of knew what was going on, but I wasn't going to dare say. I just let him do his thing as long as I could be with him.
Eddie and Marcia married 10 years later. They tried to break their habits, but the addictions only got worse.
As the years went on, our drug habit became much more intense.
$600 or $800 a day, I guess, on the cocaine. A couple $100 a day, and methamphetamine. And to keep the habit up, I had to sell, which kept me on the road a good bit of my days. I didn't see much of my wife a lot. That's when the other women started coming into my life.
I knew what he was doing. If I brought it up, we fought, physically fought.
It escalated from there.
I ran to other men to mend the hurt, the broken heart, the brokenness of my heart.
My life was void, was nothing. There was no hope in my life. My marriage was falling apart.
This was only the beginning. The drug running finally caught up with him. For the first time in his life, Eddie was arrested.
That was traumatizing, really, to me. I went and done 8 months on that. And I got out and said, I'm done with it, but I wasn't. You sell drugs and do drugs that many years, it's like going to your job. It's something that you're used to doing, and it's in a way that's the only thing you knew. I ended up being arrested 12 times, stayed on probation for 10 or 12 years.
Marcia sought help at a Christian rehab clinic. She hoped it would encourage Eddie to clean up as well.
He was coming to see me at church, and, you know, we only had like 15 minutes before church and 15 minutes after church to spend time together.
She would tell me about the Lord, and I would listen. It would touch my heart, but that meth and that money and the lust for women still had me. And I knew it still had me, and I still liked it.
Marcia refused to be discouraged. Instead, she prayed for Eddie.
The word says to call those things that do not exist as though they do. And I began to call him a mighty man of God. And no matter what was going on in his life, I was still saying he's a mighty man of God.
Eddie continued to use and deal. He was arrested again and was sentenced to 15 years.
Being in prison for 18 months, the drugs were out of my system. You know, I could think straight. You know, things were coming together. I was reading my Bible every day. I was going to the services they had in prison, and I'd pray every night. This one night, it was flowing out of me so much that I was up all night. I felt the presence of the Lord. I cried, and I knew that night is when I honestly feel, the Lord said, you are in my hands now. I'm giving you my spirit. You are a changed man.
Eddie was determined to start fresh. Shortly after, he was released from prison.
They put me on house arrest for 18 months. I know it had to be God's way of saying, hey, this is your time to get right with me. I fed my spirit. I prayed. I learned to hear God's voice.
For the first time since he was 15, Eddie was free of the addictions.
I had no desire from the day I left that jail to sell drugs again. After 26 years of drug addiction, didn't have it anymore. I didn't have the desire to go see other women. The Lord is like He reached in and took out that rock that was inside of me and put a new heart in me.
It was like God put a new love for each other in our hearts. All that other stuff in the past, you know, that's what it is. It's the past.
This is the person I want to be. So anybody's out there struggling, just about to give up, then just give the Lord a chance. If you don't have any hope, He'll give you hope. If you don't have any peace in your life, He'll give you peace. It worked for me. It worked for my wife. It can work for you.